Why is HR important to a company?
It is not only that a team that does salaries and personal stuff, it has gone into a business support. We don't have time, we don't have space for personnel departments. We are talking of human resource management. You don't get engaged with a company, you get engaged with a good boss. So every boss needs to know whether my staff are engaged.
Now motivating the worker, that's like the main responsibility of the HR department.
Today you need to understand you can't motivate everyone by salary. Do they say, oh God it's Monday, or do they say thank God it's Monday?
A blessed evening to all of you. Once again, a warm welcome to Talks with Nalaka. As you know, Talks with Nalaka is a program where we speak about leadership and important industrial knowledge where you can better your performance, your leadership, and your organization as well. So every week we have a special guest who will be coming and speaking on a specific topic and to share information about what he knows and also to encourage you to better yourself in that particular topic. So today we have with us the head of customer experience for Hemas Group of Hospitals, Mr. Ronald George. Thank you for being with us. And today our intention is to speak about human resources. Why is it important to an organization and how can we better in this aspect? So while welcoming you to the program, let me ask you my first question. In your words, if you define the function of human resources or HR, what would be the function of an HR?
So, Nalaka, how HR started was, say, if you go back, it was more of a personnel department where you actually look at how do you do your salaries, how do you do those things. It was very basic. But today I think HR has evolved. It is not only that a team that does salaries and personal stuff, it has gone into a business support function. So HR talks about how do we support business. That has also evolved. Today we are looking at how does HR drive business. So HR from a very prehistoric salaries sort of a structure, today we are looking at how does HR drive business. HR for me is basically four functions. We look at recruitment, which is talent sourcing. We look at training and development. Today that plays a big role. So we are talking of talent management, how do we manage talent. You talk of operations where right throughout the life cycle of employee, how many times does the employee interact with HR, so that's the life cycle. And then after all you look at engagement. Engagement plays a huge role because we'll talk about it later, but we have various groups of people working in our country today. We have baby boomers, we have the X generation, Y generation. So how do we link this all? So engagement plays a big role. So we'll talk about all this. So HR for me is basically these four functions coming together. Today HR has evolved. We talk about employee value proposition, all that which goes as part of engagement. So let's talk about it. But basically it's these four functions for me in terms of HR.
Thank you very much. I think we got a basic perspective as to what HR means. Now you speak about four functions. Why is HR important to a company? Can a company do without HR? Or what is the importance that this HR specifically adds to the company? If you can elaborate on that as well.
So for me, HR starts basically from where the business starts. So let's say you have a business plan. Your HR plan has to be driven by your business plan. So today, earlier people said HR is a cost. HR, there is no value in HR. What we can manage without HR. But today you can't, because today HR actually drives business and people drive business. So if you actually look at your biggest asset, it's your people. And you have today a small group of people, a team of HR managing that big asset. So in your balance sheet, I mean, people would call it cost, but for me it's an asset. So you have a group of people, and today HR is not just a HR department function. Today both of us are HR people. You do HR in your company, I do HR in my company, even though we are not HR people per se. So HR is everyone's job to do. So it's no more just to say HR is just a group of people, a department called HR that runs HR. It's all our functions, and therefore HR plays a big role today, and it is a driver.
So you're saying it's HR plays a big role in the profit that an organization makes?
Exactly.
That's it. Okay. So now you see how important the HR is in a company. It affects the profit or the loss that the organization makes. So many listeners who are listening to us today, maybe they have a company, but maybe they have a not so strong HR or might not have HR at all. Now, if a company that does not have an HR, how can they start an HR or department, or how can they move into this HR function? Can you support us on that as well?
So basically, there are a few things that they need to do. For example, if you take the legal implications, today Sri Lanka is governed by two big legal implications. One is the Shop and Office Act and the Wages Board Act. So you need someone to advise you on those two, right? But today you have a lot of support systems. For example, the Employees Federation is there. So if someone is interested, let's say you start a new company and there is someone who has a passion to do HR, it's easy. All that person needs to do is go to the Employees Federation, talk to them, what are the steps, right? Get HR registered, get your company registered there, and you can start. And then you follow the legal implications. For example, Shop and Office Act, the Wages Board, EPF, ETF, those have to be paid, gratuity, all those things become part and parcel of HR. But today there is a lot of support in Sri Lanka for that. So I would say first find the person who's passionate about HR. If you find the passionate person, the rest of it will fall in place.
Great. So what you must do is find a person who is passionate about HR, about the well-being of the workers who are working, and then the rest can be guided. So on the same note, on the part of the employees who are working in an organization, how will the HR benefit them? What is the benefit that the workers receive because the company has a HR department? Is there any specific benefits?
Yeah. So today I think workers come from diverse forms. Like I said, so you have people who have actually joined our workforce from maybe 1940s to 1965. That is the initial part. Then you have baby boomers from 65 to 80 who were born in 65 to 80. Then you have the Gen Y, people probably in our vintage who were born in 1980s. Then you actually have the Gen X, you have the millennials, right? Now the challenge is all these people are working today in one company. So I think this is the first time in history where you have 5 different sectors of people working in one company. So how do these people get the best of it? So HR has to understand that. That is the challenge for HR to understand. These are the 5 sectors of people, and what motivates a baby boomer will not motivate a person who joins your company today, because these guys are born in 2000. So how do you understand that? So if HR understands that, there is a huge amount of potential that actually happens. I think as an employee, if I were an employee and I were joining the company today, I would actually look at where does my career go from here. So that is number one for me, because money, yes, is important, but I think money is not the most important thing for me at this point of time if I join a company today. So I will ask, where does my career go? Today we have a lot of talent management programs that manage talent. So I will actually want to get into a talent pool. If I get into a talent pool, I will actually know that my development path is much faster than a normal employee. So because companies also know that you can't train everyone the same way. You have to find your core talent. So I will try to get into a talent pool and see what sort of benefits can I get from there, right? Today things like gratuity, people don't even care about, to be honest. An employee who joins today, they'll say 5 years gratuity, what's the point? It doesn't make any sense. You and I it may have add value to us, but not to employees who have joined today. So I would say today I think mainly people are looking at careers. They are looking at how do I get the best out of my talent, how do I do the best in that, and you're looking at a 2-year plan. Today I think employees are not looking at 5 years, they're looking for 2 years. So how do I get the best of it as an employee, and how does the company also get the best of me? I think that is where I think if both those match, I think you have a perfect employer and a perfect employee.
Right. I think some important points for all of us to catch and also implement. And I'm sure Mr. Ronald, as he has seen results by putting these principles into act, you also will see the same principles bearing fruit for you as well. So let me ask this question once again. Having HR, some company leaders or chairmen are a bit scared of this also, because they think, will this cost me? Will this be a burden to me? So what are the challenges that are there for a HR department? What are the challenges that they face while managing this workforce and also helping to better the organization?
So once again, I think if you decide that HR is your career, you need to ask yourself, how do I add value? How do I add value to the company? Right? So technically, I'll just tell you one thing. If I was a head of HR, I will actually make sure I will talk to my CEO and see what is the value he wants. If we have an issue with productivity, let's say your employees are not productive, then my question is, how do I make the employees productive? And HR plays a big role in that. For example, any company knows that if you have 100 employees, one HR person is okay. But let's say you have 200 employees and you have 20 HR people, you are overstaffed. So every aspect is productivity measure, right? Then also metrics today. Today everything works on machine learning. We have metrics for everything. For example, let's say a service company, 30% of your revenue maximum should be employee cost. It can't go beyond that. If it's beyond that, then there's something wrong. So HR needs to add value to that. So I always tell people, if you want to be in the boardroom with your CEO and add value, you need to talk value. That's why CEOs today turn around and say, why is HR there? It's a cost, like you said. But if you actually add value in terms of cost, in terms of productivity, in terms of revenue, and if people see that HR is adding value, HR will always have its place in the boardroom. But certain companies, like you said, they have lost their place because HR is just a personnel department. And I think today we don't have time, we don't have space for personnel departments. We are talking of human resource management.
Excellent. Great point for all the company owners. And also, what are the indications that a company chairman or a leader can have to identify whether we are having a good HR department? Is the HR successful? What are the indications that will show this?
So I would take two, I'll just talk about two indicators. There are multiple indicators, but I would take one thing as staff turnover. So generally, I'm not saying that you can have zero staff turnover, you need to have turnover. But how much is how healthy? So I would think 10% staff turnover is healthy, right? And also you need to know which staff is actually going. If you have your top performers leaving, then you have a problem. So then you look at 10% staff turnover, and if you have actually your mediocre performers leaving, I think HR is doing a great job there. 10-15% I think is acceptable in terms of staff turnover, right? Engagement of employees. So today people say, why would you stay in a company? Because you're engaged. They always say, you don't get engaged to the company, you get engaged to a good boss. So every boss needs to know whether my staff are engaged. So once again, engagement surveys need to be measured. Earlier we should do it once a year. So once you do engagement survey, you're happy, and then you go to sleep and wait till the next one comes. But today it can't happen. Every day you need to know exactly whether your staff are engaged. And there are surveys that need to be done. So I would say at least 65 to 70% of your staff need to be engaged. And the CEO needs to know that. Because if he finds that, okay, today my staff are 50% engaged, then we have a problem. Because you have a problem in the workflow, because your front line is your bottom line. So if your front line is weak and they're not engaged, then you have a problem there. So I would say engagement is one. Staff turnover is another indicator which I think HR needs to add value to, and also brief the CEO if they see any red flags coming up.
Okay. So if you are HR department, you are the head of that, then you know what we are talking about. And also, if I may ask, now motivating the worker, that's like the main responsibility of the HR department. What are the ways, what are the methods that we can use to encourage, to motivate the worker, to make it a pleasant stay, and also to get the best out of it? What sort of techniques do you use?
I will, earlier I think when we joined the company, everyone thought there was one way to motivate everyone. So the biggest thing was, can we take everyone on a trip, right? But today taking people on a trip is not a motivation, because today you have family people who want to stay at home on a Saturday. You tell them let's go on a trip, it's a demotivation. You have young people who will say yes. So how do you motivate people? So for me, I think it was Ken Blanchard who said these famous words. He said, different strokes for different folks. So different people have to be managed in different ways, right? A few simple things what you can do is, for example, if you take young people, what they want is job enlargement. So you might actually, they may be doing the same thing over and over again. Can you make their jobs bigger? So we call it job enlargement. Can you enrich their jobs, right? Because a lot of people come and say, because you can't, today you need to understand, you can't motivate everyone by salary, because salary is a cost. So while they are with you for the next 2 years to 5 years, can you actually enrich their job, make it better, so that when they leave you after maybe 5 years, they actually have got a much better scope, and they will look back and say, this was a company that actually grew me, right? So you are looking at job enlargement, you are looking at job enrichment, you are looking at career advancements, right? Even training. So I think when I joined the company, everyone said if you go to a classroom and sit for one day, you have been trained. Now there's a new rule called 10-20-70, which means 10% of your training is only classroom. 20% is what we call coaching, mentoring, what we spoke about I think a few weeks ago. And also they talk about friendship groups. Yeah? So that's 20% of your training. 70% comes from on-the-job projects. So if I'm HR and if I'm going to develop my people, I will make sure that it's a 10-20-70 rule. It's not just having a big training program, calling 100 people and saying, okay, this is training, it doesn't work anymore.
The final question for today, as HR person and who is speaking on behalf of the HR department, Listening to us are company owners and also HR managers. What are your advices to them? What would you say to them in this 21st century in a competitive world? What would your advice be to them?
Okay. So what I would say is there is a war for talent, right? There is a war for talent. If you go out into the market, we may have 21 million people, but there is a war for talent. Getting critical talent is actually difficult. So if you actually have good talent, you need to retain them, right? That's number one. Good talent is worth their weight in gold, I would say. So keep your good talent, retain them, do what has to be done to actually keep them. Secondly, try to develop your talent from inside. Don't go outside, because outside, when you go and buy talent, it's also expensive, right? So I would say have your programs in place. There are a lot of talent management tools, which I think we can talk about a little later, where you have competencies, performance, and you can actually develop your own talent. So if you develop your own talent, it makes it much more cheaper, right? And then also look at what actually motivates people, right? How do you keep your employees engaged? I always tell people, when they come to work on a Monday morning, what do they say? Do they say, oh God, it's Monday, or do they say, thank God it's Monday? I know Monday mornings are not the best thing to say, but every day if an employee is going to say, oh God, it's Monday, and not thank God it's Monday, then we have a problem, right? So look at those factors, and I think those are the things you need to look at, because like we always tell managers, you have two jobs to do. You have to manage your business and you have to manage your people. I'm telling you, managing your business is easy. Managing your people is tough. But if you get that science and art right, I think you have solved a lot of problems. So these were the few tips which I can talk about. Of course, let's take it a little further and let's see what more we can discuss about later.
Yes. Thank you very much. That's all we have from Talks with Nalaka for this episode. I believe company leaders and also managers, HR managers, you were benefited today, where we shared valuable information as to how you can take your company forward. Thank you for joining with us. Thank you very much, Mr. Ronald.
Thank you.
Once again, we will be back with you next week on the same episode, same time. It Talks with Nalaka to help you in your leadership journey. Have a blessed day.